Monday morning, what if I told you part two? Well, you've heard me talking about declining orders. You don't have to accept every order. You need to not accept money losing offers, which is all still true. But what if I told you that I came to the realization that the reason why we still have people accepting these offers, losing money, and then coming out here and complaining about it is more base than I thought it was. And that is this requires discipline. It requires a lot of discipline, and it can be very tough sometimes to hold your ground on this. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but it's not. And so I am here to post this basically just to say, hey, I feel you. And it's not easy. As I said before, I operate in a small ex-urban semi-rural market. It's not easy when you get your 10th money losing request in a row. When that 10th one in a row comes in and it's for $7 to pick up at a restaurant with terrible pickup times, to go 10 miles out and 10 miles back, which of course is common out here. So I'm being paid $7 to go 20 miles. It's the 10th offer in a row I've declined, and I'm starting to lose my mind. Well, it does require discipline. And so therefore my advice is not easy. But if you want to be able to make any legitimate money doing this, there is some requirement to follow through on it. You just got to wake up every day and just say, I'm not going to lose money today. Which in this gig, as I said before, it requires discipline and it's not easy. So I feel you. But in order to make a profit in this gig, and again, if you're in a market like mine and this is a continuous thing every day. If this is a continuous thing for you every day to repeatedly get nothing but money losing offers over and over again, there's a realization that you have to reach, and it's the one that I reached a long time ago. You cannot do this full time in a market where money losing offers are a continuum. If it's all day, every day, just nothing but money losing offers where you're spending more money in expenses than you're being paid, then you have a market where you can't do this full time. Full stop. I've known this for quite some time. I've never attempted to do this as a full-time, as a sole income. There are some tough spots where I've had to use it to help myself get through, this being one of them, but it's never been my sole income. Because I simply don't live in a market where the offers come in that make money. And I think this is a function of supply and demand. I believe this market has more drivers willing to accept terrible offers than ones who hold their ground. I know because I've talked to many drivers up here quite a bit. They don't know the metrics of miles. They don't know how miles expenses actually work. They think that they're just driving around making all this money, when in reality they're running their vehicles into the ground. Again, discipline. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So if I see you're out here complaining about these terrible offers, putting screenshots out there, I hear you. I get the frustration. I really do. But making money in this is not easy at all. It requires detailed planning, thought, and again, discipline. You're not going to be able to make money just randomly driving around, which was the promise that was given when this whole thing started during the pandemic. And back then, I think it was true. 2020, 2021, we were able to just jump ourselves in our cars and drive around and just rack up the money. But we're not in that world anymore. It requires planning. It requires standards. It requires having the discipline to stay by them even when it's difficult. And up here, it is difficult. This is a small town when push comes to shove. We are technically within the Twin Cities metropolitan area. We do have some connection with the Twin Cities metropolitan area. But our orders typically leave town. They typically go to rural areas. It's an ex-urban market. We are not really a metropolitan market. Our restaurants don't reflect that. Our pay doesn't reflect that. Our expenses do reflect long miles, going out of town and coming back empty every single time. So to those who say, hey, just get a trip back, guess what? Out here, impossible. We don't have the restaurants outside of our zone at any sort of a volume that would result in any trips ever returning to the city of Forest Lake. Population 20,000. Some of these other smaller towns outside of populations of less than 5,000. We have a fair amount of residential population, but not a distribution of restaurants. Most of those are concentrated within the city of Forest Lake. These smaller towns outside of us or beyond us don't have restaurants that service or DoorDash at all. So again, you need discipline. But I feel the complaints, in a way, I'd be making them too if I didn't have the discipline that I have to reject money-losing offers, even when they're coming in batches of a dozen at a time, which appears normal. So again, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it, and these boards wouldn't have any complaints. But it's not, and we do. So anyhow, that is part 2 of my Monday doubleheader. You folks have a good week. I'll see you later, and peace out, homies.